then next week, we will have 2 activation containers back to back, only because the dates are in alignment with the stars. And so we got to take that opportunity. We cannot be worried about being overwhelmed with positive energy. Don't care, do it first and see how the body feels later. So that's next week. But every time I do a transmission container or an activation healing container, I receive just as much activations as you guys. So I'm always looking forward to it. I never know what's going to come up. They do give me a kind of a knowing of what it is to be presented, but I never really know the details. So most of the time, I don't prepare anything. I tried preparing for this class and nothing really came up. So I think they just want me to use my brain, which is all about tonight, this transmission, about activating the crown chakra, but at the same time, the left and the right brain and the limbic system, which also somehow, in a way, we will be working a little bit on the nervous system as well, like working with memories and feelings and emotions, and how important the ascension path is when it comes to the ability to recapitulate about the past, about past lives. It really brings in so much more understanding of the self, but not only that, not just on like a mental level, but also on an emotional level. Because what if, for example, what we can't remember because the body isn't ready to remember? Why isn't the body ready to remember? It's because it requires so much of light and surrender and trust for the past life memory to come back to us, whether is it great or whether was it not so great. It takes a while. So therefore, this is one of all the activations all actually work together. You'll find that the first 12 that we're doing is really just the basic. How many DNAs do we have? True energetic DNAs. We have like 12, 24, 48, and the list goes on. I remember one year people were saying like there's 48, but the masters have been so clear that, we clearly have more than 48. Just hang on, I need to turn on the AC. Yes. So going back to the DNA. So I'm now officially going into the class because it's past 6 minutes. So we have so many different types of DNA, and all the DNAs actually come together and work. When we activate our divine DNA, we are activating or bringing back together, restoring the divine personality. So when we come into a lifetime, most of us will be operating from a false personality or lower personality. And I say it's a false personality because I know that is not the way we all truly function, not from the essence of who we are, not in connection with the soul, not in collaboration with the soul. But because the you as a person, you as a soul, has gone through so many different lifetimes, and therefore experienced 101 things, including the traumas and all the things that allow us or cause us to forget our divinity. So therefore, we can't remember a lot of things. First, we want to touch a little bit on what makes up an old soul. Usually when people say, I am an old soul, or this person is an old soul, it usually refers to the soul being matured, being wise, being intelligent, having accrued a certain amount of wisdom and intelligence through their lifetimes. And it does not mean that if I have lived 1,000 years, I am an old soul. If I could have lived just 5 lifetimes, but I managed to understand that I'm made out of all these things and I'm able to cultivate myself to a certain degree, that would already make me an old soul. Does that make sense, guys? So when we say a person is an old soul, is a matured soul, it does not mean that necessarily mean and does not tie to the number of lifetimes they've lived. It's how many lifetimes they've lived as a wise, intelligent soul that surrenders and connects back with their true divine self. So for all of us that are here, I would like to think I have a good sense that we are all relatively matured souls. We may not be the oldest and the wisest and the most intelligent, but we've definitely done this before. Even though if in this lifetime you just think, well, I'm just like really curious, there's nothing much. And I'm listening to this day in and day out, and I don't really understand any of it. It's not to understand everything of it, especially in a transmission just like this. You're meant to receive the vibrations. The teachings come in more as vibrations. Because if you listen to it mainly in the mental body and in the mind and just think, well, I've taken all this, I actually can remember 100% of this transmission tonight. It does not make you any wiser and more intelligent, because what you're going to do next is you're simply going to regurgitate everything that was said with no essence or no substance to what you are saying. So you can't say the same thing and take it as a transmission, because it's no longer a transmission. A transmission is all simply about that vibration. It's all about that energy. It's just all about receiving that. So during this program, when we are together, and actually for any other container that we are in, always remember that most importantly, you are open to that vibration. We interpret that with the mind and thinking that if the mind completely comprehends, the mind has to comprehend. Only then am I receiving. But that is half incorrect. One part is, of course, able to really understand it. That's great. But if you don't, the vibrations actually touch you and begin to change and alter your consciousness. So we got to be open to that. Why? Because if you're not open to that, then that part will forever be missing. How is it going to be missing? Because you're going to tell yourself that, well, I don't understand this, means I didn't get it. Or I don't understand this, then I'm not interested in this. Yeah. Or just by thinking that I need to, only when I understand it fully in my mind, that's when I've received something, or that's when I'm smart enough. Then what you've basically done is you put a wall in between you and that vibration. Later on, we will also be working on humility and integrity, which is so truly so important on the path. Because without these humility, honesty, integrity, without these traits within us, we can never really truly be ascending. We can never be on the path. So we have to be able to actually understand when we are going through or not experiencing, or experiencing too much of one vibration, and if it's of the lower vibration. So that's the second thing. We are on this program, when we are working specifically with, especially with DNA or anything else, it's so good to be able to observe. Observing of the self, not observing when am I becoming more intelligent? What have I spoken today to make me more intelligent? What have I done today that shows that I have opened up, my crown has been activated? Not so much in search of that. That is the ego going in search of that. The ego is very smart. The ego can want to try and influence us with seemingly even positive thoughts. And so we think that we're actually thinking of the right thing and perceiving things in the right way, but it is not. So then that is truly an intelligent mind. The intelligent mind, the divinely intelligent mind that can perceive what is false and what is real. And that can perceive where things, thoughts, structures, beliefs, and forms are actually coming from. Is it coming from your divine self, or is it coming from the ego self? And as we do this work, we are not trying to get rid of the ego, we are trying to transform the ego into like an ally, into a friend, until the ego is completely deflated and say, I give up. I'm not going to try and trigger you because now I just want to be on your side and on your team. That would be quite amazing. And with that, we also have the inner child. The inner child also has a divine child. When we speak of inner child, we speak of that person or the individual's consciousness as a child, one, as a teenager, two, as a young adult, three. It's all parts of us that were actually pure and innocent, that wanted to be heard, that wanted to be understood, that just wanted to someone or everyone to listen to us. And that is you as the smaller and the younger version. So these are the things that we need to try and and train or think differently, not think like how we always think. I feel that this year is really so important. And I encourage you to take little notes if anything resonates with you. Like, for example, if we talk about the inner child and you observe and you realize that, hey, actually, I still think that the inner child means this little boy, little girl, and really nothing more than that. Then you want to take down a note and just remind yourself that an inner child means a toddler, and then growing up, and then a young adult. All those is my inner child. And then when my inner child heals and shifts, that becomes my divine child. So important, because as we are awakening, as we are on the path of ascension, one other thing that we want to be able to do is also to be able to communicate, listen, and co-create with our inner child. How the inner child comes up for you is at times the inner child will make you feel uncomfortable at doing something. And that's when the inner child is saying, don't go there, don't do that. And the inner child could be saying that from a place of wanting to assist you, but it could also be saying from a place of fear that hasn't been resolved, of energy that hasn't been resolved. So the inner child is also speaking from that. So when we are able to pause and surrender to the inner child and say, okay, then I won't do it. It's like wanting to go for a party. You, the adult, really wants to go for this party. But then the day before the party, there's this part of you that says, no, I don't want to. And you recognize that as your inner child, that you want to start by appeasing the inner child and say, okay, we won't go there. I'll trust you. I won't go there. That's actually giving your inner child an opportunity to be heard. It was you that didn't receive the acknowledgement when you were young. Things that you said were being just cast away. None of the adults will want to listen to you. They'll say, just keep quiet, just shut up. You don't know what you're saying as a kid, don't talk too much. But you and I know that as even children have a lot of wisdom, right? Sure, they need guidance to begin to open up all their energy centers and to grow and to mature properly, 100% fully, and be able to thrive in this world. But they still do have their wisdom, and they honor their feelings. So at that time, we were like, yes, we don't want to do this, we don't want to go there, we don't want to be in this class. But the parent says, no, you have to do it. So now when the inner child speaks to you, this is when we want to say, okay, I hear you. I hear you. Fine, we won't go there. And then observe how the body feels. The body might straight away come into that relaxation or just feel better, less nervous. Okay? So then we have the higher self and then we have the soul. So all these things, all these parts of us, all these parts of us that have been fragmented, when we say fragmented means we are not together. We are not in one container all the time. We may be corded by light or a certain bond that we have, but we're not really co-creating together. We're not with the program. Not every one of us together are in the program as one. So working with our DNA really helps us because as we work on our DNA this time round, the new upgrade is that as we work with and activate each one of our DNAs, we are also upgrading all parts of us. We are upgrading the inner child. We are upgrading the divine presence. We are upgrading the soul. How amazing is that? I was so excited when I was experiencing all these things since a month ago. I was experiencing these different feelings and emotions that I had never experienced before. And I thought I was being lazy. I thought I wasn't being a good listener. And I thought I wasn't deep listening. And I was using my own self, my own mind, my own understanding, my own lack of wisdom and intelligence to sit every day and say, why am I procrastinating? Why am I resisting doing a certain thing? And finally, I connected with the inner child and she says, I am now able to speak to you and I'm now able to give you a feeling about what's what. And you're actually listening to me because you actually feel it, but you just didn't know that it is me here with you, talking to you, communicating how I feel. And I thought that was, wow, that was really interesting. Very, very interesting. And this is a new part of us that has opened up in this year of 2025 in connection with the divine feminine energies that are really here to support us to ascend and to heal. Wow, and we didn't know that. And we thought this ascension, this healing with the divine feminine is just going to make us feel like, helping us to surrender our feminine self coming up. If I'm a male, then it's allowing me to trust and use my intuition more. So much more than that. And so it was such an eye opener, it was such a heart opener for me. I just feel so extremely, extremely blessed to be able to feel this way and to connect with my inner child, which I thought I've done all that connection, I thought I've done all that healing. And here comes another part. Okay, so again, so just like what we were saying earlier, that these activations are really going to be upgrading all parts of us. And whatever happens on the inside, whatever happens on the outside, say the etheric bodies or the light bodies, is going to have this symbiotic relationship with the inside and the outside and the inside. So that was good. There was one huge transmission that just went and it just lifted all of our consciousness all at once. If you guys had just felt anything, had felt a shift together with me, please let me know in the chat. Take a sip. How am I getting softer? Am I? Is it okay? Is it okay now? Yeah. Sometimes when I'm very deep into channeling, my voice gets very low. So I apologize. That's why I highly recommend that everybody, see now I'm out of it, you can hear my voice is louder. Get headsets, get earpiece. You will feel the transmission even more. So go out and get one of those. They're really not expensive. Or just buy one. Get one that is very, very that can sync very well with your laptop, whatever laptop that you're using, and you're gonna really elevate the experience that you have. Even if you're just listening in to the replay, if you have it on the earphones and you have it on a headset, it's gonna elevate your experience by leaps and bounds. Yes, but at any time when I'm getting softer, please tell me. So thank you, Karen. And then just now the microphone was like drooping down. Why? But now it's like here. Okay, yeah. So like I was saying, I had yeah, exactly. I was feeling the same way, the exact same way that the air is lighter around me after the transmission. I was feeling the exact same thing. Before that, I was like, wow, this is like so heavy, but I have to say, yes, same, Salty. I just suddenly felt this lifting of the energies. So whenever we have that, if you're just feeling that on your own, and I'm still going on and on and on and on, all you need to do is just take a deep breath and just gently exhale. And you will have many, many more of these experiences as we go through. So those who are joining us, they have signed up just for this program. You have not just signed up for this Ascension program alone. It's actually everything that's all the events held within the inner circle. So please come join us for all the other events as well, all the other transmissions, all the other activations, master classes, yeah, whatever that I feel guided to teach, to facilitate, to host every single month. Okay. Sure, for the past 2 weeks, I've been feeling like a change in self, like more peaceful, slower, the way I walk and talk. But yesterday, I couldn't sleep for 2 hours, woke up in the middle of the night, and I felt this anxiety that a colleague has been latching on hard to me to chat with me twice a day at work. I'm not used to people latching on to me too much. That's not something you want to get used to. Never, ever let yourself and anyone latch on to them, latch on to you. Because when that happens, there is always a part of us that's also latching onto them, hooking onto them. So please don't ever say that you're not. You should never get used to that. You don't have to. So I was strategizing how to gently excuse myself while not being able to sleep. Yeah. Always think of it as this way. There always has a form of, with attachment, there is a detachment. So whoever that is very connected to us, they think that they can talk to us, that we are, so wise, and they just feel comfortable talking to us. All of us here, I'm sure 99% of us that are in this container, that are in the inner circle, that have come for courses, there is a part of us that is attractive and charming to our fellow human beings because we have the light, we understand, we are empathetic. So they like to talk to us. But we must always practice a healthy detachment. A healthy detachment. As we activate more and more of our DNAs, what we also activate are our lessons. And I know I did not mention that to anyone before they signed up for this program, because I knew if I did, then you wouldn't sign up. So I do not apologize for that. But now I am saying that with every activation, there is a lesson that is to be activated. Why? Because in order for the activation to come on fully in your life and for you to embody what it is that you were trying to activate, in this case, it is about activating the limbic system, or the hippocampus or the amygdala, all these faculties in the mind that allow us to really process the higher frequencies of memories and emotions, true emotions and true memories, and really coming from that higher space, coming from a very different perspective, is really, really different way of sensing and knowing what these emotions and memories, how they are meant to serve us right now. That is that activation, that is that intelligence coming in from activating just one of that DNA. With that brings you the lessons. With that shows you your resistance. With that shows you your arrogance. Or with that shows you your stubbornness. And with that shows you how much you are using the lower mind and actually not the divine mind. The lower mind tends to overthink and think and think and think, but in the false matrix, that lower mind thinks it is extremely smart because it is constantly thinking and asking questions. The divine, intelligent, balanced, connected mind knows just how much to think and knows just when to stop thinking. It knows how to ask the correct questions. It knows how to differentiate between curiosity and overthinking. It knows when to let go and to stop and to surrender. And it knows when to accept because everything is just is. Nobody questions too much about why the flowers bloom, why the sun rises and why the sun sets, and why we have a high tide and a low tide. Nobody really questions that so much except for a small group of people that do, because we have accepted that. But actually, those are the mysteries. Those are created by creation. Those are the mysteries that we should be fascinated by, that we are curious, but we never argue with it, that we are curious, but we believe. How different is that from not believing and questioning, not believing and being curious? That is where the human mind is stuck, unable to move along, unable to move forward, unable to move upward. Because we always think of all the wrong things. Not thinking is not great. But the divine says being in stillness, having an empty mind is great. It's perfect. How are you utilizing your mind? Are you utilizing your mind to think of all sorts of things? The other day, my friend asked me, if you meet somebody, will you be curious about your connection and want to look at the past lives and think about your purpose together? I'm like, why? That's a waste of my brain cells. Why would I do that? I'm here to experience. If I meet somebody new, I want to experience you. I want to experience the other person. I want to get to know the other person. Not trying to think of all these things and then trying to always make the right decision, and I'm just afraid to fail. So yes, I still do make mistakes because I want to make those mistakes. Not too big mistake though. But I want to make those mistakes because it's part of my journey. It's fun. Not always thinking. People always ask me, didn't you know this? Didn't you know that? Don't you want to think? Didn't you ask? But why? We want to experience. Alti says, I appreciate the part about listening to the inner child sometimes because it's tiring to keep pushing one's boundaries all the time. Comfort is sometimes really nice, even if the choice comes cowardly. was being shown what it is meant by my mind is my blind spot today, acting out in the office. It is a mind-blowing experience guiding me on how to master my lower mind. Yes. So with this first activation, which we will have next week, is really truly about beginning to master the mind. And this is just right at the beginning, the tip of the iceberg. We have yet to really discover the different ways to master the mind. Why we say this is because people have such a limited understanding of how we actually should master the mind. Just the other day, I had spoken to someone and he said he had been meditating for 6 years using the transcendental meditation. And he had stopped doing it. After 6 years, stopped doing it. And I said, why did you stop doing? He said it's because he needed a change because they were always doing the same thing. Now, I do not know anything about the transcendental meditation. I heard briefly, I think Asha had mentioned it before. Was it you? Transcendental meditation. Never mind if it wasn't you, it's not important. But I do not know much about that. But the fact that he can say to me that I've been doing something like almost the same thing and I wasn't experiencing anything different and I'm going to stop meditating. He did not even say, I will now change the way I meditate. It was just, I'm giving it up for this year. I thought that was such a shame. If you do not have your audio turned off, please have your audio turned off at this point in time. Because he wasn't able to master the mind. Basically, that's what he was saying to me. It's not the body, right? It's not the emotions, it's not anything else. He wasn't able to master the mind. The mind that begins to have a very clear understanding why he feels that boringness, why he feels it is the same thing, why he feels he's not moving along. And that actually be his inner child actually talking to him and trying to tell him that maybe he needs to inject more fun into his meditation practice. So I feel that with any practice that we have, in order to keep things light and to keep things fun, right? Because these are actually divine traits. The Creator always wants lightness and the divine always wants fun. And so when you don't have that in a practice, or it's not trying to help you discover those things, yeah, I just did that for her, then this practice isn't great for you. When it's not switching up around. So we as practitioners, when we do things, we must always switch things around, but not to the point where you say, I'm not going to be on that practice. I'm not going to be spiritual anymore. Something is wrong. And if you're not my student, I'll tell you, well, just take a break. But if you're my student, I'll say, let's sit down and have a chat. What is going on? Why are you saying no to one part of you? Because our physical body is a part of us, energy bodies, our emotional body is a part of us, our mental body is a part of us, and our spiritual body is a part of us. I have been repeating this for 20 years, and I still repeat this. You guys have heard me say this like 1,000 times, but I repeat it because people did not register it. You heard it, but you did not register it. Which means from time to time, you still take care of your physical body, or maybe you don't, or you take care of your mental body and your emotional body, but then you find all reasons to stop taking care of your spiritual body. Thinking it is not a part of you. Thinking it's an option. It is not an option. It's like saying, I just don't eat and I don't shower. It is not an option. You have to do it. Or saying that I don't sleep at all. Or this month I'll sleep, next month I won't sleep. Sleep is not an option. Your practice is not an option, right? Cleaning yourself is not an option. Yeah. What are the non-negotiables in your life? The non-negotiables are the exact things that help you to better yourself. Very simple. It's just that. Of course, the positive things, like don't tell me that drugs are non-negotiable. If it hurts you, then no. Okay. But basically, our non-negotiables are what sustains us, is what makes us sane. So our practice is also a non-negotiable, and the practice from now on, 2025, is a practice of truly observing the self. Observing the self is so difficult because if you don't observe yourself, then no point doing and all the activations and all the healing, because then you want things to be done for you and there is no reflection on the inner self. The only way reflection can come is when there is an observation. And so observation of the self is so important. But in the beginning, observation of the self is very, very tiring because you haven't really learned how to master it and you haven't learned how to embrace yourself fully. So whatever you master in yourself, you feel like, oh my goodness, no way, how am I such a person? I'm slow, I'm stubborn, I keep looping, all those things. It's an observation of the self. But once you get a breakthrough, the breakthrough is through the observation of myself. I understood myself, I forgave myself, I let myself go, I let the other person go. It is through these moments of realization that the observation of self becomes so interesting and fun and liberating. And you'll be like, I want more observations of the self. I want to be able to liberate myself in this way because it's instant. It's so quick. And so when you need help, it's very, very little. It's not a lot. This is the mastery of the mind. So the mastery of the mind comes with the very balanced left brain and the very balanced right brain and all the little tiny little bits of us that are inside that brain, other than the crown chakra and other than, the third eye, whatever you guys know that is in the brain besides the left and the right, all the other parts of the brain that is functioning. Let's think about this now. What does the crown chakra do for us other than connect to us spiritually? There's more than that, isn't it? The crown chakra also holds supposedly a activated, online, clear, balanced crown chakra, holds all your wonderful belief systems, holds the foundation of who you are, holds the remembrance of your divine self, which then allows you to connect into the true essence of whom you are. When the crown remembers, when the crown is fully activated, the column of light is activated all on its own. It's a pair. The column of light together with the crown chakra forms this pathway that at the moment when the soul wants to come in, when the soul wants to come in and inhibit this body, it needs this intelligence, it needs this remembrance. What you remember, what you store in your mind, what you hold in your mind, it is equal to the consciousness that you hold, vice versa. And we are continuously refining that. But with the lack of understanding of what that crown is, we often just think the crown connects us to the divine. The crown connects us to our spiritual self. But what is our spiritual self? What does the spiritual self comprise of? does the spiritual self comprise of? So let's try and break this down. And if I missed out anything, please, you can add on in the chat. So the spiritual self comprises of the love, the light, the power, the intelligence, the compassion, the honesty, the integrity, the sexuality, the clarity, the wisdom, the abundance, the tenderness, the gentleness, the anger. It comprises and makes up, our spiritual self is made up of so many things. Possibly, question, is it made up of the ego? Is the spiritual self made up of the ego? Spiritual self is made up of the inner child as well, consists of the divine inner child. All those things, all the different fragments of us. The divine self is also made up of so many different fragments of us. Is it made up of one soul? We have more than one soul. We have many souls. Why do we have many souls? We have many fragmented parts of the soul. We have a part of us that is in the cosmos. We have a part of us that is on another planet. We have a part of us on planet Earth. We have a part of us in the many dimensions of the Earth. The Earth herself has a cosmic counterpart to that, to her. We have our consciousness everywhere, which means we have a part of us everywhere. We have a soul everywhere. When we come into that full remembrance, again, the mind, right? This is the mind accepting, the divine mind coming online and having that intelligence that does not ask too many questions. This intelligence is able to process things on its own, to process ideas, to process information, all on its own, without thinking that it is stupid and that it is naive. Because the divine intelligence that crown itself knows the absolute truth. Does it need to be proven what is the absolute truth? No. Because it knows, it has that deep gnosis. And that deep gnosis comes from the intelligence and the wisdom. The true intelligence and the true wisdom that has moved through so many lifetimes, that has moved through the cosmos, that has traveled through the entire galactic. That the moment it receives this information, this is the truth. Because you start to process that information with all the different parts of you. And that intelligence allows it. The crown allows it. Because you have allowed it. So the crown chakra is so extremely powerful. It is, well, to say that, of course, all our energy centers are extremely, extremely powerful. We just never really knew how powerful it is. So see, when we have, because the DNA is the one that sends the code, that does all the coding. that, and this is the energetic DNA that we're talking about, which will then influence or entrain the physical DNA, which then begins to give instruction to all parts of the body and say, do this, feel this way, think this way, receive this, accept this, embrace this. And the mind. This is why they say that scientists have really only tapped into like 5% of the mind. We don't know truly the power of the mind, the true intelligence of the mind, what the mind is truly capable of. But the mind needs to remember, the mind, the brain, and the crown chakra is actually one. The heart is the heart, the throat is the throat, right? The solar plexus is the solar plexus, the sacral is the sacral, and the root is the root. But the mind is the mental, the physical, which is the brain. It's all that. It's like a 2-in-1 and a 3-in-1. It's truly, truly powerful. So please just take a deep breath now. Don't think. And the moment we say don't think, the mind begins to think, right? I mean, we say don't think of an elephant. We think of an elephant. Don't think of a dog. We think of a dog. Just take a deep breath now. This is breathing in the transmission. Accepting it fully in the body, accepting any limitations that the mind and the crown is perhaps experiencing, or not knowing that it is experiencing. It's okay. We want to really tap into the mind and expand the mind. Expanding the mind is actually understanding the self. Okay, it's not expanding the mind and then expecting yourself to receive cosmic knowledge. It's expanding the mind to understand your limitations, to then expand the mind further and further and further, deeper and deeper, higher and higher. That is what ascension is all about. Ascension is essentially not about being psychic, having vision, seeing with the third eye. Because we are already all of that. We have that, but to be an even better version of ourselves, which is ultimately what ascension is all about. To be a better version of ourselves in order to receive and to meet the potentials that we have, the potential selves of us. We need to understand the self, else you are going nowhere. You're standing there, 2 feet on the ground, hopefully it's on the ground, and just standing still, not actually moving forward, but with the illusion that you are moving forward. This is when we don't explore and utilize the crown, the brain, in the right way. The crown, the brain, and the mental body in the right way. Then we are standing still with eyes closed, but thinking that we are moving forward, feeling even that we are moving forward. Now, how dangerous is that? It all comes from the mind. This is what I tell myself I'm doing. This is what I tell myself where I am. Right? Because if we want to start living our purpose, if we want to start embarking on our mission, if we want to start being abundant financially, we want to start having an amazing relationship with the self and others, we need to understand the self. We need to understand exactly what sort of person we are. We need to be able to identify and notice every single one of our thoughts and how we ourselves are actually holding ourselves back and nobody else. That is what we first need to remember, this ultimate truth. We are the only ones that are holding ourselves back from doing anything, from being anything, from feeling anything, from receiving anything. We say, I'm not given the opportunities. I'm not given the love. I'm not this, I'm not that. I'm not given the money. But the moment we say that, in that very moment, we have just again enforced the fact that we don't have something and that we have absolutely no power over it. Giving your power, giving your sovereignty away. Only the mind can notice that. When we say it, only the mind can notice that. The heart can maybe feel it, but cannot comprehend it. The comprehension comes from the mind. Okay, so from now on, when we say the mind, what are we referring to? We are referring to the mental body. We are referring to the brain, the left and the right hemispheres, including everything that's within the brain. And we are referring to the crown chakra. Mind means mental, means brain. And the crown chakra is three things. So once we begin to master the self, what does that begin to change? The personality begins to change. The personality begins to evolve. That would be a better word to use. And evolve means, to evolve is to actually take time. Because a change can be instant, but it's not continuous. To evolve is a continuous transformation that is constantly taking, and that it is a positive one. Okay? To evolve is to have constant change and transformation, constant positive change and transformation. So then once the mind has that kind of intellectual, you have that kind of intelligence on all levels of your mind, the mental, the brain, and the crown, you then begin to slowly evolve the personality. Into what? Into a higher personality. So we can activate the DNA for you and do it and say it is activated. But you, because you have personal will, you have personal intelligence, you refuse. You refuse to honor the lessons, to honor the little blocks that you may have that is currently blocking the full activation of a DNA that we have specifically gone into activate. This is critical to know because why? We just said that we are our biggest block. You are your biggest block. I am my biggest block to anything and to everything. if we realize that with a mastered mind, we will know immediately next that we need to take action. And we will actually take action. We will not use what we know now, what we now know, as a reason to not take action. That is the intelligence of the lower mind. But it'll tell itself it's already very smart because it really has that awareness of what it is lacking, of what it could not do, of where the issue derived from. Maybe from the parent, maybe from whoever it is that traumatized you, or because it's my mother, because it's my father that taught me this, I witnessed this. They know the root cause, this lifetime's root cause, but yet they can't do anything about it. They can, but it takes so much effort. Our mental blocks, right? So your assignment, your mini assignment is from now till our activation container. Challenge yourself. Challenge your mind. Challenge your intelligence. What is it that I'm seeing, that I'm knowing, but yet I can't make a change to it? We've just made it very easy for you. We didn't ask you to go think of how intelligent your mind or how high your IQ is. We just simply look at what it is that's existing in your life. What it is that you are aware of, but you cannot change. You just cannot. You know it in your mind. You know the problem. Write it down. I want you to document down your journey. I want you to make this 12 months absolutely worthwhile. And that you can look back and you can say, I've actually did something. I've actually participated in my own healing and transformation. I've actually done something. I didn't just go for class, receive the activation, did the meditation 3 times, but essentially have not done anything else. So we don't want that for anyone. Just in case you were not aware that you were doing that, that will no longer be an excuse, right? Because the activation container is only half the battle won. It's only half. We have this affinity. You had that clarity to take this course, to come for this course, to come for this class, to be in that container, to maybe do the meditation one more time, but then you didn't have that clarity to go further. That you must be so conscious and be so deliberate and to will yourself and to have that determination to say, I'm going to take this 1 more level higher, 2 more levels higher, 3 more levels higher. This is not going to stop me. How strong are you? How put your stubbornness to good use. If you know me, you know I am so stubborn, but I put my stubbornness to good use. I never ever give up. No way. I can't. It's not in my DNA. It's impossible. But I know when to give up. Right? So use your stubbornness. If you have stubbornness in you, use it wisely. Use it to forge this road ahead for you. Because you're not only just going to be getting boring spiritual. Sometimes spirituality looks very boring. Let me tell you, it is nothing but boring. It is the most exciting thing that you can do for yourself because your life is going to be so easy. Because you ventured into places and stepped into areas and gone into waters that you never thought you would. And you did what everybody else does not want to. But at the end of the day, we are going to have the last laugh. because life is going to get so much better, so much easier, so much more prosperous, so much more money, so much more health. But you got to do it with the right mindset, the right intention. And you got to make sure that you are co-creating. Simply put, you are doing your part. Okay? So I'm so grateful that we're all here to kick off this first session, which is half of the first part of the activation of the higher mind. But truly, one activation I feel is always so many parts, it's always so many things. And it's always activating something else as well, you know? It's never always just one thing. It's never always just like so straightforward. It doesn't mean it is not simple. It is simple, but it's never just so straightforward as it is. It's energy upon energy and that ripple effect that's constantly taking place. So please close your eyes now. We're just going to wrap things up. We just want to clear away all things, all fragments, all energies that have risen to the surface because of the transmission that we have just received. Risen to the surface, wanting to be released out of the four bodies now, out of the light bodies and out, release completely. Making way, making beautiful space for clarity, for the activation that is going to come. We are just going to marinate ourselves these few days, marinate ourselves in good consciousness, in good mind, in good intention. Preparing the body to receive that wonderful activation. Preparing the mind, preparing all the lower parts of us saying, hey guys, you just really only have a few days to be your old ways because we're going to step into a new way of being. And I'm all for it and I'm all ready and you guys better be on board with me. Take a deep breath. And that's it. Slowly open your eyes. Thank you so much. All right, so please go think about it. Think about what we had just shared. Any questions, we can bring it up for clarity. And our next class, I believe it is on the 26th. But I will share the Zoom link inside the inner circle again for ease of everyone. Okay, so I'll see you next week.